All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday smoothies class on this stormy, fine, stormy day. Um, we are going to get started in just a minute after a couple of housekeeping things. I'm Isabel Hinton, a health educator with Bronson, and I will let Kim and Tina introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everybody. I am Kim. I am a diabetes educator, but I'm also a registered dietitian. I've been a registered dietitian for 20 some years and love everything diabetes and hoping to share some fun things about smoothies with you all this morning.
Yes, and good morning. My name is Tina Wahardo, also a registered dietitian, and I am going to be making the smoothies for today's class. So happy you all are here considering the weather outside. So we're happy to have you here with us.
All right. So if you are just joining us, we are doing diabetes friendly smoothies today. Couple housekeeping things here. We do offer closed captioning. So if you do need closed captioning, feel free to wiggle your mouse at the bottom of the screen and you will be able to click the button CC to allow for closed captioning. We know that it's not 100% accurate. So if there's anything confusing or odd to you, let us know and we will clear that up. Like I said, this meeting is recorded, so feel free to keep your camera off if you don't want to be recorded. Otherwise, we love seeing your beautiful faces. And then also, we just ask that you stay muted during these education class just to reduce on background noise. However, there is going to be a couple of options for us to kind of chat and hear from you. But until then, we just ask for mute to keep background noise to a minimum. So with that, quick little disclosure that the information you hear today is intended as general health information and should not be used as a substitute for medical care or advice from your provider. So if you have any questions about your individual medical needs, be sure to contact your provider so that you can make sure you're getting the right care that's for you. And with that, I will get on to give it on to Kim.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you, have you here for a little bit of education on nutrition, smoothies, and diabetes, and then we'll have Tina come on in and make our first one. So my agenda, we're going to talk about some nutrients, how we balance, and how that affects our diabetes. We're going to throw some carbs, protein, fat words out there and how that is balanced in our smoothies and for our diabetes swaps, modifications, how can we change some things up? And we're going to compare some of our products and especially some of those well-known products to what we made today. And then lastly, what is the benefit of having a smoothie for diabetes? So we're going to move on. And so there are three nutrients that are important for our health, but for your diabetes management, the first one is carbohydrates, the second one is protein, and the third one is fat. So we don't want to forget any of those, but all three of those are so important for our diabetes. And when we are considering how do we keep our blood sugars nice and stable, nice and steady, not have these smoothies make a disruption, we need to consider balance. It's a huge word. And balance meaning we must use our nutrients to help balance that meal. So carbs, fats, proteins help balance. So if you notice that blue line on your screen there, that real tall roller coaster looking thing, you see that on your phone or your laptop or your computer, that means that that blood sugar is unstable. And that might have been from an unbalanced meal. Perhaps we might have had all pasta, no meat in that pasta. Or perhaps we had some fruit for a snack and we didn't have any protein with it. So we talk about balance, and that green line you see that came and popped right up, that's a nice steady line. We like that for our diabetes, like some of those nice steady blood sugars. And that can come from a balanced meal. And I'm going to show you how you can do that with a smoothie today. So there's some ingredients that are making this smoothie that is balanced. And this is what each of those do for our body. So when we think about carbohydrates, we like to think about the fuel for our body, the energy that it provides for our body. Carbohydrates might have a bad, put a bad taste in our mouth in some internet searches and things, but honestly, the basis of carbohydrates really provides the fuel. Where protein and fat gives that stability to our blood sugar. It keeps it where it's at and it gets us feeling satisfied. So not only are you going to feel energized and you're going to feel like you had a great meal and you have energy for till the next meal, you're also going to feel satisfied and your blood sugars will be stable as well. But how can we do this with a smoothie? So let's look at some of those popular ingredients that are under each of these categories. So carbohydrates. What we see is that generally what we coin these as they're going to be the natural sugar in the smoothie, or perhaps some of those added sugar based products. Some will desire to have something that will sweeten it up a little bit. When we think about, and I'm going to get a little more specific here in another slide or two. When we think about those protein foods, what's in a smoothie that will help to make us feel satisfied? It's generally animal-based or it can be plant-based. And that's the same thing as the fat that helps us feel satisfied and keeps our blood sugar stable. Okay, so this is some examples specifically, I promise you on the next slide, of carbs, fats, proteins. We're narrowing it down. Carbs, the fuel from the smoothie for our body is going to come from the milk. It's going to come from the protein drink if we desire. It might come from the fruit we use in there. It might come from the juice we put in there. Perhaps some people put honey, some people put yogurt or some sort of extracts or some sort of seed. And we're going to see all this here shortly, what Tina's going to show us. The protein we find in our smoothies, we can find in a variety of nut butters. We can find in some of our variety of protein powders and some of our protein drinks. And last but not least, nut butters for fat. It's a good source of healthy fat, seeds as well, and avocado. So, Tina, I'll let you take this away.
I'm actually going to take this away really quick. So I did not put a poll in, so this is going to be an open-ended question. So you see poll on the screen, but it's actually going to be a chat question. So if you can type in the chat, what do you use for milk in a smoothie? And then we are going to find out what Tina is going to be using in her first recipe, which is a very green smoothie. So type in the chat what you use for milk in your smoothie, a liquid in your smoothie, and we would like to hear what you have to say. Soy, almond milk, soy or almond milk. Good. All right, that seems to be the popular choice here. Almond milk, soy milk. Okay. Water, skim milk, pure protein. All right,
Yep.
we got a good variety here. All right, Tina, let's see what you are making.
Well, I am going to be using a soy milk in our first option, which we are going to be doing this very green smoothie. So we're going to do the very green smoothie today, which includes lots of fruits. We've also snuck some vegetables in there. And as Kim was kind of talking to us about, we have to make sure that we've got enough protein in fat in this recipe. We're going to talk about that as we continue to move through today's session with you guys. But as you can see on your screen, we are using soy milk, which is going to have a little bit more protein than some of the other plant-based milk options, and we'll kind of go through some label reading here in a little bit. Then we're also going to use some ground flaxseed. That is going to provide us a little bit of protein and a little bit more fat too. We're going to add some extra protein powder. I heard pure protein from the chat. And then we're also going to add some avocado. to ensure that we get that blood sugar friendly benefit from this smoothie, because the avocado is going to provide us a lot of fats to slow down that digestion of our blood sugar. So we are going to go ahead and get started. And if you're following along, we're going to do that very green smoothie as I mentioned. We're going to start off with our fruits. So if you're looking along with the recipe, we're going to do mango and we're going to do pineapple. I am using just a bagged pre-frozen fruit option from the grocery store. But of course, if you already had some mangoes or some pineapples left over fresh, this is a great option to just kind of freeze and have on hand so you can make yourself a quick smoothie in the future for a good grab and go breakfast, or honestly, these are even good options for lunch too. So we are starting off with a 1/4 cup of our mango chunks. And then we're also going to add a 1/4 cup of pineapple too. Now, this is like a little bit of a tropical type feel. Honestly, any fruit I think pairs well with spinach and avocado. So if you've got mixed berries on hand, you could definitely use that in this smoothie instead. So those are our fruit choices for our smoothie. I've got a 1/4 cup pineapple and a 1/4 cup mango already in my blender cup here. And then we're going to add 1/2 of an avocado. This avocado is going to lend a very, very creamy texture to this smoothie. It's absolutely beautiful color because of the avocado and the spinach, but the creaminess is just unmatched with this avocado. So I've already split my avocado. I just used my spoon, if you've not used an avocado before, to just peel out that green flesh. So just take that spoon right around the skin of the avocado, and we're just popping that right into our smoothie container as well. So we've added 1/2 the avocado now for our fat in our green as part of our very green smoothie. And then we're going to sneak in those vegetables like spinach. I'm going to do 1½ cups of spinach. We're going to do a packed measuring cup, 1½ cups of spinach. You could do kale if you had kale here as well. And some people, they don't really like the greens in the smoothie, but honestly, with the fruit and the avocado, you really cannot taste these greens. So it's really a great way to sneak in all the vitamins and minerals that we get from our greens in a smoothie. So I've got 1 cup so far that I'm just going to pack into my smoothie container here. And I'm just going to add a little bit more. This one
I'd
is
love to know, while Tina is getting her spinach all in the blender cup, if anybody puts spinach in their smoothies when they make them at home. Has anybody tried that before?
or avocado. Honestly, I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I don't think about adding avocado to my smoothie very often.
Yes.
I do spinach.
You
Love
do
it.
spinach?
Oh, love it.
Yes.
Quite a few yeses. So, all right. Good group here. Right. Yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like with spinach, it honestly just takes on the flavor of the fruit in the smoothie. So I feel like it doesn't really add any type of taste at all to it.
All right, very good. So we've got my 1½ cups of spinach in here, and now we're going to add some flax seeds. It's an ingredient that we often get asked about. Like, you guys, people always ask us to do more with flax seeds and chia seeds, and actually we're featuring both of these ingredients in our smoothies today. Flaxseed is a source of some carbohydrate with a lot of fiber and some fats and some proteins too. So it actually is a powerhouse of all of those nutrients that Kim just went over that makes it a blood sugar friendly ingredient. So you can sneak it into a lot of different things. We're sneaking it into our smoothie today. But if you go back to some of our recordings of our other cooking classes, we had the cancer care dietitian on with us doing a cancer class, and she loved using flax seeds and thought it was a very good ingredient for cancer prevention as well. And she talked about tips on how to sneak it into, your pasta sauces, your meatloaf, your meatballs, your ground meat for your tacos. So it's a very mild flavor, packs a lot of nutrition, and you can sneak it into a lot of places. And honestly, you can't taste it. So we're just adding a tablespoon of the ground flaxseed. And that is the key point when using flaxseed. You do want to make sure that it is in its ground version. If you have whole flax seeds at home, that is okay. Just grind them in a little, blender, food processor, so they're kind of broken down. Our body can best absorb the nutrients from the flaxseed when it is in a ground version of itself. So we've added a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, and then we are doing soy milk today. So I'm doing a vanilla soy milk. With these plant-based milks, you do want to make sure that you get to the milk that is fortified with some calcium and some vitamin D, and usually you'll see that right on the front packaging. But because it is fortified, that fortification does settle to the bottom as it sits in your refrigerator. So if you are using any sort of a plant-based milk, always make sure that you're giving it a good shake so all of that fortification can get into the serving that you are using at that point. So we are adding a half a cup of soy milk to our smoothie. And this gets a little thick with the avocado. So we're also going to add a little extra water at the end. If you wanted to substitute and put a little extra milk in there, that is totally fine as well. Even if we're just adding maybe just an extra quarter of a cup of milk, it's not going to really change the nutrition facts very much at all, because we are adding extra proteins and fats too. So your recipe says a scoop of plant-based protein. This is a what you would call a vegan and definitely a vegetarian smoothie. Today I am not using a plant-based protein, so mine isn't necessarily plant-based. But if you choose that option, it's very similar as far as protein content. So we're adding 1 scoop of a protein powder. This one in particular just happens to be the Premier Protein powder. My label just fell off. All right, so that is that. We are going to add a little bit of water after I blend it the first time, because it is going to be pretty thick. It'll be easier to drink once I add a little extra water. So I'm just going to put I'm using a Ninja blender. So if you have the Ninja blender that has the blender cups with it, it has a fitting that you can blend right in your individual serving container. So I'm just going to screw that on. And then I'm going to go back to my blender. Isabel, if you want to mute me for a second, and I will be right back to show you this beautiful green color.
So, while Tina is blending that up, it looks like it already got blended up. All right, wonderful.
It's fast. All right, so you probably can't see it. I'm unmuted, so you probably can't see it. Let me get my spoon in here. It's pretty thick. Now, if you like it thick, that's fine. It actually isn't as thick as it was when I made it yesterday. You can add ice to it. You can add just a little quarter cup of water to it and reblend. But I'm actually pretty happy with that consistency, so I'm not going to add any extra water. So that is our very green smoothie. Let me get my lid. And here I am with my very green smoothie that is blood sugar friendly, got plenty of good heart healthy fats and protein. Plus, I still get to enjoy a little bit of that tropical fruit. And I know that my blood sugar is set, and this is going to be satisfying, which is a struggle sometimes with smoothies. This is going to be satisfying because that avocado, that flaxseed, and that protein powder is going to keep me fuller for longer. So I'm going to be good to go. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Kim.
All right, thank you, Tina. That looks delicious. I wish I was in Battle Creek right now. Okay, everybody. So very green smoothie. Does it look balanced when we look and peel apart all of these ingredients? So what I've done here is I've gone through all of the nutrients that make a balanced meal, and I've put all the ingredients, how they can kind of meet those criteria. And I feel like we've hit every area here. With that tropical, some of that fruit, which we've only got a half a cup of fruit in there. It's not unrealistic. We've got some, liquid base to that plant-based milk, some of those seeds, delicious fiber, which many Americans, we lack the fiber. And in diabetes, with enough fiber, we can control our blood sugars better. A lot of us lack that. But with protein, having that sufficient protein, if all we're doing is a fruit smoothie, if all we did was leave it with milk and fruit, it doesn't matter how big or how small that smoothie is, we often don't feel satisfied. So adding some sort of protein, we chose to do the protein powder and then, a little bit from that soy milk and then that satisfying fat, just a little bit of avocado goes a long way. And those flax seeds and then just some nice extra vitamins with that spinach and extra fiber. So definitely balanced. Now, talking
Before we
about,
move
yep,
on, we did have a couple of
yes, oh,
questions
good.
come through. So one person had asked, Leslie asked, I don't like how protein powders change the taste of my smoothies. Any suggestions for an alternative?
Mm-hmm. So we are going to try, Leslie, protein drink in our second one, which has quite adequate protein content, and so it's liquid. So if the powders um, make that, uh, could perhaps give you that different mouthfeel. I usually only use a scoop though, and even at home, not two. There's really no necessity for that, and so oftentimes I don't make it dry.
I'll also add real quick, I totally agree with that statement. I struggle with protein powders too, because oftentimes I'm doing protein powder and very few other ingredients. This avocado makes it so creamy, you cannot taste any of that protein powder. So that might be just another trick for you if you like the avocado.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
we also had another question asking about, can you do without the vanilla flavor? Which I saw that Tina actually responded, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then Jill asked, is pure protein powder vanilla flavor okay to use?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you really go for that vanilla, right? I mean, you don't have to do the vanilla flavored, vanilla sweetened like milk. You can add vanilla in other ways. You may not desire the vanilla flavor. Um, Initially I mentioned like an extract. Some recipes call for extract, some aren't necessary. It's kind of the nice thing about smoothies is it's so versatile that you you can try those things out. Give them a test drive. Which
And
kind of brings
then
me to my next thing. Yeah, is there any more
sorry, I was
questions?
gonna say one last question.
Oh, good.
Someone was wondering specifically if pure protein powder vanilla flavor is okay to use.
Oh, okay, specifically pure protein, vanilla? Yeah, I believe that would be whey based. If you don't desire or don't have a need to do plant based. If you're trying to make this recipe as we made vegan, all of your spinach and veggies, um, if that's whey based, that would be dairy. That would no longer be like a vegan smoothie. So just kind of depends. Is that kind of where we're going for?
I think so.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the next slide is about swaps and modifications. So really what I like to keep in mind for my smoothies and what I'm recommending is really we can vary up the fruit. Personally, I I don't I don't care for all the tropical fruits. So I would rather do other fruits. And that's okay. Keeping that to like a half a cup for, each fruit, it's going to be roughly about the same nutrition. You can vary the greens if you like something like if you have kale in the fridge, if you like different, have kind of a spring mix. And then the seeds. I know we're going to try a different seed in our next recipe, but you can vary the seeds. The nutrition value isn't going to change a whole bunch, but if you have different seeds on hand, it's great. Using a different liquid base, which I'm really going to highlight next. So I'm going to skip that one really quick, but you can use something different as a basis. The last thing to consider is what's our protein base? We can kind of use different things, right? Protein powders, protein drinks, nut butters. So let's get to the different liquid base part of it. So as you see on your screen, your laptop or your phone, you can kind of see on your left-hand side, I have a picture of a cow's milk, 2%. And then on the right-hand side, I have a 2% lactose-free high protein milk. So the difference is one is dairy, one is non-dairy. But when you're looking at the nutrition, both labels talk about 1 cup servings. And when you really hone in on both of them, they both have about the same amount of total fat. They both have, some protein in there. Actually, the lactose-free high protein milk has more of an amount of protein. But when you look at the carbs, that is just about in half for that, or more than half in that lactose free. So if you're looking to kind of save some carb grams and really try and boost that protein just a little bit more, you might want to try like a lactose free high protein milk like that Fairlife. And those that cannot tolerate dairy, it's a nice option. My second slide here is we have a vanilla 2% reduced fat soy milk on the left, and then we've got our premier protein drink. So we'll be using that one in our next recipe, but the vanilla soy milk that similarly that Tina used on the left, again, both of them we're talking about 8 ounces approximately. When you look at the total fat, they're roughly about the same. When you're looking at the protein, check that out. 7 grams for the soy milk, which was very adequate for our recipe for the very green. There's 30 grams in that pure protein drink. Look at the carb grams. It's about half the amount in that pure protein drink as well. So it depends on your needs, is really why I throw these all out here. There's different liquid options. They all contain carbs, they all contain protein, and they all contain fat. And so they're all balanced in some sort of different way, but what's our needs and what's our like? What do we like? And what haven't we tried? So I wanted to show you guys those comparisons. So my next question, I guess that open-ended question, take it away, Isabel.
All right. So next open-ended question, feel free to type it in the chat, is what is your go-to for peanut butter in a smoothie? So do you like peanut butter? Do you like nut butter alternatives? Sunflower seed butter. We'd love to know what you put in your smoothies.
All right, it should be Tina.
All right. Never tried, never tried. Peanut butter is good. Peanut butter. I make almond butter. All right, cool.
All right, well, I am going to use peanut butter today, hence the name peanut butter and chocolate smoothie. I like that some people have said, I'm not consider putting a nut butter of any sort into my smoothie. You're going to love this one. This one is delicious. All right, so we're going to do the peanut butter and chocolate smoothie today. A little bit of fruit in this one. So as Kim was kind of walking us through, how do we determine if a smoothie is going to be, friendly to the blood sugars? We got to make sure that we have that balance between our carbs, our protein, and our fat. So we've mentioned a couple of times about potentially using like a protein drink. We've got something like that we can do that provides us, Premier Protein isn't going to provide too many carbohydrates. It's mostly going to be protein. But there are other options like this reduced high fat protein milk. And actually, you can just spotlight me. I can move forward from there. Something like this high protein. This is a Fairlife brand, 2% milk. It is going to be a carbohydrate source, but it does have 50% less sugar. So it's got about half the amount of carbohydrate as just your regular dairy milk. So that is an option. And actually, I hadn't seen And so it must be fairly-ish new, but maybe you guys know about it. When shopping for some of the plant-based milks, when I was at the store, not only because I made mention that soy milk has more protein in it, they've got those higher protein like almond milks now and higher protein rice milks. I hadn't seen that before. So I thought that would just make a side note about how you can get some higher protein choices now in some of those other plant-based options. So that is what we're going to be using for our milk. I'm just gonna use the Premier Protein drink, and we're gonna start by adding 1 cup of our Premier Protein drink mix. This is a pre-mixed container of liquid, but you also saw that I had the Premier Protein powder. And so if I had just powder on hand, I could mix it with a little milk. That's going to change the carb content a little bit, but not too significant. If you're looking at your recipe that we did email out to you guys, the nutrition facts information that is listed is using the 1 cup of a pre-mixed protein drink. And even though this one is flavored vanilla, it only provides us 4 grams of carbohydrate, and only 1 of those grams is from sugar. So we're adding a whole cup here. Oops, just a little over. Let me put that over the sink. All right, so we've got 1 cup of our Premier Protein. And then I have just frozen a small banana, which you know can be kind of hard to find a small banana, but this is about the size of the small banana that I am using that is going to be frozen. Bananas get a bad reputation, and maybe actually Kim can talk about that a little bit. Bananas and grapes tend to get a bad reputation when it comes to living with diabetes because they can have a little bit more sugar. But a smaller banana is making this a little bit more blood sugar friendly. And also, Kim might be able to provide some tips on how to purchase the banana. A little bit more green banana has a little less sugar content too. So that could be another trick to make that even more blood sugar friendly. So we've added our banana. And then I'm going to add the peanut butter last, but I'm going to do an unsweetened cocoa powder. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon. That is going to be our chocolate flavor in this smoothie. Then we're also going to add these chia seeds. I'd be curious, has anybody used chia seeds in their smoothie before? Let us know in the chat. These are also versatile little ingredients here, a good source of fat, fiber, and protein, which makes it again a very blood sugar friendly ingredient. These can be snuck into a lot of things too. So maybe you've heard of like chia seed pudding. You can throw them into your smoothie. You can tap them just on like a yogurt, like a high protein yogurt with a little bit of fruit. You can throw it into your oatmeal. All of those are also blood sugar friendly breakfast type options too. So we are doing 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. If you don't have them, you don't like them, you don't have to use them. They're just adding another really good source of fat and protein. But again, if you wanted to swap this out with flaxseed, that would be totally fine too. So we're adding 1 tablespoon of chia seeds.
While you're adding that, Tina, there's a question that popped up in the chat. Does it make a difference, the percentage of cocoa? I recently was recommended 100% cocoa for a recipe I was making.
Kim, any thoughts on that? I think it probably does make a difference as far as maybe antioxidants. I would say that. From the carb standpoint, I doubt it makes much of a difference, but Kim, I'll let you chime in.
Not much of a difference in nutrition value that way.
Yeah, maybe an antioxidant difference, but not from a carb, protein, fat standpoint. Good question. Thanks for asking. All right, and then we talked about, well, maybe if we don't really like the vanilla flavored beverages or protein powders, you could always add that vanilla extract, which we're going to add to this one. If you're sensitive, I think a teaspoon, that's what the recipe calls for. It's not unbearable. I think It just gets a really strong, powerful extract flavor. So this is totally personal preference here. I'm going to add a teaspoon, but I think I would probably prefer just a little bit less if I were having this on a regular basis. But again, totally up to you. If you only had almond extract on hand, that would be absolutely delicious in this too. You can swap those out as well. But then, last but not least, we are going to just add some peanut butter. Again, it's going to create that creaminess for us, and it's going to provide that extra heart healthy fat, those good unsaturated fats that are going to keep us full. And it's going to give us that blood sugar friendly benefit. So we're adding about 1.5 tablespoons of peanut butter here. Or if you were using nut butter or almond butter, that's where you could use that here as well. If you were doing like the PB2, that would work fine from the protein standpoint, but the PB2 doesn't provide you those good fats. So keep that in mind if you're going to swap out with a PB2. All right, I am going to blend this up. That is all very quick and easy smoothie there. I prefer this one with a little bit of ice to it. I thought that kind of created that kind of decadent feel to it because the only other frozen item is that small banana. So the ice, I think, makes it a little bit more pleasurable in my opinion. Totally personal preference for you. But I'm going to go ahead and screw on my top and get that blended up and show you what it looks like.
While she's blending that up, has anybody made a smoothie like this or similar to this? I love the smoothie because it kind of reminds me of almost like a milkshake, really. If you're gonna be honest, and it honestly kind of does.
I didn't hear what you said, Isabel. It reminds you of what?
It reminds me of a milkshake, honestly. This smoothie, this chocolate peanut butter kind of, or a milkshake, excuse me. And it's really good and creamy.
I thought you were going to come way up close to show us that. Like way up close.
Way up close. I don't know.
Maybe that'll create it.
See how loose it is? So that's where I think the ice really comes to be beneficial in this smoothie in particular. We didn't really feel like we needed to add that in the other smoothie because we added a little bit more of that frozen fruit. Plus we had that avocado to create that thick and creaminess. If you like the real thin smoothie, totally fine. I would just go ahead and finish off by adding about a 1/4 cup of ice. And I honestly thought that was perfect because it gives you, like Isabel said, that milkshake feel. So that is our peanut butter and chocolate smoothie. It is delicious. You are going to want to try it. I'm going to pass it back to Kim.
All right, and while Tina is passing it back to Kim, I just want to mention as well, I wonder if you could freeze an ice cube trays like the Premier protein shake or the milk or whatever that you're using in it to just kind of so in case you don't like ice watering down your smoothie. So just a suggestion.
Isabel, great.
All right, here we go.
Those that know me on this call would totally know that this is just my type of smoothie right here. This would be the first, this would be it. All right, so a little bit of bias here. Carbs for this, as Tina has mentioned, is going to be that liquid base. Again, the protein drink has a little bit of carb in it, or that high protein milk, like that Fairlife, of course, the half banana, your unsweetened cocoa powder, and those chia seeds with that fiber. Just a really basic thought about carbohydrates. Really, carbohydrates, when Tina was talking about, the bad rap with bananas, that carbohydrates are anything that is grown on a tree, grown in the ground, or grown in like the field. So the basis of those carbs are any of those types of foods that you can think of that grows on a tree, grows in the ground, grows in a field. The basis of those is glucose, it's sugar, because that plant, for any of those that have taken and thought about any agriculture or not, that plant with rain, with the the sun, it grows. So carbs expand beyond the bad rap of many foods. So when we look at these carbs, it's really the high fiber, the things that we think about, the fruits and the trees and the grains from the ground. Now, when we think about protein and fats, remember it's animal or plant-based. So, we've got some of that from that protein powder or protein drink. Could be soy-based, it could be nut-based. We have peanut butter in here, and the fat comes from that peanut butter and the chia seeds. There is no veggies in this one. So as a swap or modification on our next slide, um, hmm, we could always vary the fruit. I'm kind of curious what other fruit you would either add to this or swap it out with. Um, Honestly, I would add something green to it. I always do. I always throw some spinach in. You could do, I honestly always have chia seeds, but I don't often use flax seeds. I could just throw some flax seeds in if I have some. The liquid base for sure can change. We can really modify that, whatever we have on hand. But let's talk about that protein base. What else can we use besides peanut butter? Of course, love peanut butter, can tolerate it. What else can we use? So let's look at the differences there. So we have our Jif peanut butter, creamy peanut butter. What it's compared to below that, when you kind of look at your screen there, is what's called a sunflower butter. So it is a nut-free, allergen-free alternative. And when you look at the total fat for both of them, they both have 16 grams of fat. So remember, these butters, these nut butters, really pack the punch for fat. And so we don't need much in there. And in our recipe, we don't use much. But these are equivalent in fat. When you look at the protein, equivalent in protein, and when you look at the carbs, they're just about the same. One is a nut and one is allergen free. So they could be equivalent. I've honestly never used sun butter. I'm kind of curious if anyone has. So throw that in the chat if you have. I think there might have been a few that said almond butter and other things. Now, when we look at peanut butter, what we just talked about, compared to PB2. So Tina had mentioned we don't quite get all the fat we need from PB2. If you've used PB2, it could be like a powdered, low calorie, low fat alternative. So let's compare food labels here. Total fat for Jif creamy is 16. When you compare it over to the PB2, it's 1.5 grams. So significantly less. When you look at the protein there at the bottom, the protein stays the same and the carbohydrates do drop a little bit. So you're looking at a definite savings in fat and calories. And if that's what works for you and you don't mind the powdered peanut butter alternative, like a light peanut butter like that, then that might be an alternative for you. So something might work for someone else. All right. So I wanted to have fun with this. We were thinking we would compare this to a commercial tropical smoothie. Tina's smoothies are on the left. We picked the tropical smoothie and compared the nutrition on the right here. So here she's showing her very green smoothie. As you can see on the left, it's 450 calories. A tropical island green smoothie that's got, I want to remind myself, I believe the mango, the pineapple, and spinach is what is in that without adding anything else. There is fat in Tina's smoothie because she has the avocado, but there is no fat in the tropical green smoothie as it comes. Now, guys, look at the comparison of the carbs. Check that out. 37 grams with the pineapple and the mango and a few other things in Tina's smoothie. 102 grams in the tropical smoothie. So vastly different. The protein is very, very different too. 31 grams in Tina's smoothie compared to 3 grams. So we'd have to boost something up in that tropical smoothie somehow for protein. The sugars is astounding. 88 grams is sugar in the tropical green smoothie, where Tina's is very, very low. It's all just that fruit, um, pretty much the fruit sugar. Excellent source of fiber. So when you look at your recipe that she's provided in your email today, there is 9 grams of fiber in her very green smoothie. That's excellent. Uh, no cholesterol. It's gluten-free, it's lactose-free, dairy-free, it's vegan. It does contain soy for anyone that does have any issues with that. When we look at the tropical smoothie, though, it is still a good source of fiber. I believe 4 grams of fiber, which is considered about a good source. There's no cholesterol. There's no animal. Um, we looked and it's vegetarian, gluten-free. And so it's quite comparable, calories to calories. But when you start nitty-gritty looking at and seeing how balanced it is, ooh, could be a little bit, we might need to, how can we make that change to be more valuable in a balanced aspect for our blood sugars for tropical smoothie? So that's what I would challenge, someone that came across, my desk and go, how would we work through this? What could we do to make this a more balanced option? So Tina's is on the left, tropical smoothie on the right. So I'm going to do this also for her peanut butter and chocolate smoothie that we just did. On the left is her chocolate smoothie, peanut butter chocolate smoothie, and on the right is the peanut butter cup smoothie from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. So I don't know if you've ever had any of these, either of these smoothies before, but when we look at how they're prepared, 440 calories for the nutrition analysis for the Tina's, and 700 calories. I believe it's peanut butter. Oh boy, chocolate, and there could be, oh boy, I didn't do my research. I did my research, but I can't think off the cuff. There's like 3 ingredients in there. So it's quite high in calories. It's quite caloric. 21 grams of total fat in Tina's, 18 grams of total fat in Tropical Smoothie Cafe. So it's comparable for fat. Carbohydrates is astoundingly different, 43 grams to 131. Very, 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 very much different. Almost over a day's amount for someone in one smoothie. 24 grams of protein, so nice amount of protein in the peanut butter and chocolate one that Tina made. 10 grams of protein, so it's got a source about an ounce. Much lower added sugar in Tina's than Tropical Smoothie Cafe at 108 grams. Both have great fiber, more excellent in Tina's at 11 grams, so it's great. That's great, great, great. Just a little bit of cholesterol, and I believe because of the milk, if we used a dairy-based milk or something in the powder or the drink, it depends, we might get a little bit of cholesterol, but essentially it's gluten-free. It does contain nuts. We did use peanut butter. We don't have to use peanut butter. We can make that nut-free, right? Soy can come from some of those powders or the soy milks, or it just depends on what base you're using. So this is the comparison for these two. What you might get in a restaurant and what we provided today as a source. So what's the benefit to all of this, right? And I want you to take away with all in one, it's balanced, it's fairly quick. I think Tina, you whipped them out, did a little prep, but not too bad. You got your frozen fruit or you had your frozen banana. Blood sugar friendly, it's convenient, few ingredients, it can be colorful, very versatile. I mean, you really can't make it wrong. Fiber rich, heart healthy, a lot of the healthy fats from the different plants and the different fibers, and protein packed. So that's what I have for you today.
All right, we do have a question. Would Nutella be a good swap for the peanut butter?
It would be a delicious swap, but it would not have the good protein source that a nut butter would have. And Nutella generally has a little bit more of those added sugars than a peanut butter would have. So that would just be the caution there. I think you could make it work. You just have to really figure out how to increase the protein and the fat in a different way if you were to choose to do that.
Agree.
All right. Any other? What about a senior who maybe cannot afford the cost of some of the items? What could they swap to make it more cost effective?
So, any thoughts on that, Kim? I'm thinking the most expensive ingredients probably would be the seeds. And although I guess my thought on that would be is yes, it does have a little bit more cost up front. Not that you need both of these on hand. You absolutely do not. But there's a lot of servings in one of these containers, right? So it breaks down to a low cost per serving. That is where I think the most expensive ingredient here happens to be. Sometimes frozen fruit can be a little bit more expensive too, right? Like my grocery store didn't have a small bag of pineapple chunks. So I ended up having to get the big bag, which was almost $9, which that hurts, right? For some frozen pineapple chunks. So if you've got a can of fruit, pineapple, or whatever it is, or just catching whatever is on sale, you can swap out those fruits. Again, you could do berries instead of mango or pineapple, depending upon what is on sale. You could do a can of pineapple and throw that in the freezer, get the 100% juice and rinse it. So you can kind of swap out for some of those things if you're looking for a little bit more budget friendly swaps.
I agree. Yeah, look for the sales. Also, yes, the seeds do last, and even the cans of powders. I know some of the protein drinks can come from like Sam's or Costco. But using a cow's milk, from going to Aldi's, they do have like lactose free, and some of these alternate plant-based milks and things too are all great options. They don't have to be name brand.
Somebody had a great suggestion, sharing the cost and the product with a friend or friends. So that way you can divide it between, a couple of you. That's a great idea. And then there was the question, which I know that Tina and Kim, you had already answered this. The percent of cocoa, does that matter? I don't know if someone came on late to re-give that answer.
So what we were saying is about the percentage of cocoa, and this is 100%. So I will make that statement as well. I think the biggest difference would be the antioxidants that are present in that cocoa powder. Otherwise, from a carb, protein, and fat standpoint, difference is going to be very minimal, if anything at all, between those different percentages.
All right, everyone. Well, we are at time here. So just a quick little thing. If you need help finding care or help at Bronson, here is a way you can talk to your primary care provider or excuse me, or a diabetes specialist. So you can ask for a referral to Bronson Diabetes Education. There are locations in South Haven, Battle Creek, and Portage. Providing diabetes self-management education and support with education on all aspects of diabetes management, and then medical nutrition therapy, which is individualized nutrition recommendations from a registered dietitian. If you need help finding a doctor or you search for a specialist, right here on your screen are the phone numbers and the websites that you can contact to get help searching for a specialist. If you need help with your My Chart, feel free to call these numbers on the screen or email. If you need help with your bills, or you have any payment plan questions, the number for Bronson Patient Accounting is right here. And then also there is price estimate for a Bronson service, and you can call the price estimator team at the number on your screen as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for attending our Diabetes Friendly Smoothies class, and we hope to see you at our next one.
Thank you all. I'll just make one more point before people fall off here, is that in regards to the diabetes education and the medical nutrition therapy, sitting down with a registered dietitian one-on-one, you also received handouts in your email this morning around 7:10 for additional information on that. So there are phone numbers to call right on there if you have any questions about that. So we appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining us on Diabetes Friendly Smoothies. We hope you make them and enjoy them. I know I'm going to.
Thank you.